We started Warwick journalism because we believe that free speech is a fundamental human right. Yet, as the populist wave continues to grow, free speech finds itself more and more under attack. Most recently, this has exhibited itself in the over $1 billion lawsuit President Trump is threatening against the BBC. The most recent spat stems from a BBC Panorama documentary released in October 2024. The documentary, which tried to understand Donald Trump's appeal in the 2024 election campaign, was accused of bias after edits were made to President Trump's infamous Jan 6th address. In recent days, clips of a BBC Newsnight episode that aired in 2022 showed the same kind of clip cutting that allegedly changed President Trump's message.
Well, my reaction was predominantly concerned with whether it was done deliberately to sort of spread misinformation or exaggerate it slightly. But I think that the reaction of Donald Trump has been way out of proportion. So my reaction, I was a bit surprised, but I think the way it's been blown out in the media is very exaggerated to what it should be.
The issue has become vociferous in recent days after an internal memo was leaked to the Telegraph in early November. This memo revealed the BBC had been warned that the institution was systematically biased by an independent advisor. In the aftermath of the memo revelations, BBC Director General Tim Davie and Head of News Deborah Turness resigned, likely hoping such high-profile exits would settle the issue.
Well, I'm glad that these resignations happened. I think they were necessary to reflect the change that's needed at the BBC. But I worry this doesn't actually change the real people making the decisions and the mistakes. And let's be clear, this wasn't really a mistake. This was a deliberate action done first in a Panorama episode, but then again in a documentary. It's a real shame that this has happened. And on the Today programme, Nick Robinson joked that the only person the BBC supportive of Trump is the coffee man. Now, whilst that may not personally be, whilst my own personal view is not one particularly supportive of Donald Trump, it is, I think, reflective of the fact that the BBC has not really changed in terms of the people who are there or the views that they hold. And so, whilst these resignations are a step in the right direction, I don't think that we can simply move on from the story.
The memo's revelations have led to serious criticism and consequences for the BBC. In the US, President Donald Trump's anger has shown itself in the lawsuits and public criticism of the institution, parroted in the UK by Nigel Farage, who has said his administration would strip the BBC of its licence fee in part because of issues of bias. Other politicians, most notably Ed Davey, have strongly urged PM Starmer's government to stand firm behind the BBC and its independence.
I believe if a foreign head of state is threatening the BBC as an institution, I believe the UK government has a duty to stand behind it in that instance. In more sort of specific down in the weeds cases, I don't think the UK government has a duty to do that. As in, if it just retained there was a claim of defamation against Trump, I don't think the UK government should necessarily be involved. But when that escalates to a threat against the existence of the BBC, the UK government absolutely should be involved in that.
The BBC has a long way to go in its fight, both of Donald Trump and of those who want to see the licence fee scrapped. But what does the fight say about the broader state of free journalism and reporting in the wider world?
Because in social media now we have an awful lot of misinformation. We also have very big news corporations like GB News, which, in my opinion, quite frequently produce misinformation and taken out of context statistics, and they're not really regulated or punished for it. So because of that sort of example that's set, and because of the culture that we do live in of misinformation, I think it is more difficult to report accurately and honestly today.
The debate around the BBC bias and political influence in journalism is not happening in isolation, but reflects a broader trend in the current populist wave. What the debate should be telling us is to think hard about what kind of future we want for public journalism on the world stage. I'm Will Hall, reporting from Warwick University.